Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm Tiffany, and you found us on the Wise Skies channel. Wise Skies is a metaphysical counseling company. We offer one-on-one sessions as well as a fun membership. And in our membership in the month of March 2022, which is when we're recording this, we have a special guest teacher, Adrienne Nikki Cobb. So Adrienne is on the show with us today. Thank you for being here.
So happy to be here.
And I'm so excited to be talking about this because we're going to be talking about her new book, The Tribes of Light, and some of the content that's in it. Adrienne is a spiritual teacher and intuitive messenger. She founded My Wild Magic. So if you want to find her at mywildmagic.com, it's an online community of like-minded people who are really trying to experience the world with hearts on fire, right? Like that's the pulse of it. Adrienne offers these amazing meditation courses. It's not, I mean, how do you describe your meditation group? How is that?
Yeah, so Hearts on Fire meditation group is it happens on Wednesday nights, and it really moves a ton of energy. So it is set up as a quantum prayer field, and what happens is we all sort of come together. We're working with ascended masters, galactic councils, cosmic beings, angelic hosts. And there's a lot of downloads and star transmissions that come in through it. So it's helping us to heal, and it kind of gives us a like a foot up in a sense in terms of our spiritual work, because they're helping us on that 24/7 basis within the quantum prayer field. But not only does it help us to move energy, expand energy, and ignite our own soul blueprint, but because of the work we're doing within the collective, it is also designed to be of service and a living blessing to all of life, to the planet, the earth itself, as well as the family of humanity. So everything that we do collectively that's qualified on that higher vibration kind of echoes out and is expanded with the other beings of light that are working with us. And each month is different.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, you can't bullet point that. Like, it's an amazing experience that is both shifts things at a personal level and at a global level because of the work in the quantum field. That's just one of the cool things she does at My Wild Magic. She also offers one-on-one sessions. She has her own membership. She offers Reiki initiations. And Adrienne,
I got a quest coming up. The quest is the other big thing that I do, once or two times a year. And so I got that one coming up soon, March 14th. I'm like,
yeah, real soon. And so tell us a little bit about the quests and quests.
So each quest has its own signature, and they're done virtually on the inner levels in the comfort of your own home. And I usually meet in the evening, and it's kind of done meditation, soul travel. We do a lot of soul travel, but the cool thing about a quest is it quantifies the energy. It's like it speeds up the energy in a pretty lightning bolt type of way for whatever's going on. And this particular quest is going to be the 7-day Equinox quest in March 14th to the 22nd. And those are doorways. The equinoxes, solstices are great doorways to do quest on. This one's going to be hosted on the inner levels by Mary Magdalene, who usually overlights my quest, but also Serapis Bey, which is the ascended master coming out of Egypt, and Archangel Gabriel, and they align to the they help to host the flame in the third eye, the sixth chakra, for the flame of purity. So we're going to be bringing in the ascension flame, which is great for all the new earth energy that we got going on, ascending literally our physical body, sending all the cells, the electrons of our physical body, and then also the flame of purity. So this quest is going to be really highlighting the seventh chakra, the sixth chakra, the heart chakra, and giving you crystal clear clarity about your life in ways that maybe you just haven't quite had that clarity because of your own patterns, emotions, belief systems. So it's going to be like a really kind of a lightning type energy, just giving you clarity on things that maybe you have been wondering about, questioning, or seeking guidance on for probably years of your life, actually. So,
right. So if you want to get in on that, I mean,
yeah.
Right. So the quest energy, I've done several with Adrienne over the years, guys, and it is, if you will pause and take the time, it is life altering. It just really is one of those pivot moments where the gates are open for you, and it's really cool how she weaves everything together. So I wanted you to talk about that too, because it gives all of you guys listening, or that might be new to Adrienne's work and mywildmagic.com. She has written this incredible book called The Tribes of Light, and we're going to go through half of the tribes of light in this episode today, and we're going to do half next time. So the half that we're going to focus on today, we're going to talk about the cosmic tribes, the galactic tribes, the planetary tribes, and the star tribes. So that's what we're going to cover today. Next time when I have her back on, we're going to talk about the angelic tribes and the ascended masters and the nature kingdom. And so somewhere you're going to see yourself, somewhere you're going to fit in and see where you resonate with which tribe of light, or maybe a couple of tribes of light. And you can take her quiz. If you're completely just like, wow, none of those words made sense, you can go to mywildmagic.com and there's a /quiz. You can find it there too, but it's free and it'll tell you which one might resonate with you the most. And so this is really fun work. My last little bit of housekeeping is that Adrienne is our featured teacher in March. So if you want to be part of the Wise Skies Collective membership, is $22 a month. Adrienne's classes on discovering your intuition and meeting your tribes of light are a members only kind of higher level offering that total is about an hour. So not too much of your time, but it's available in your members area at wiseskiescollective.com. There's also an Akashic record reading about the equinox from April, which is so cool. Really fun way to connect in with that verdant green spring-like energy. The human design support call this month was about the root chakra, which is one of my favorite ones to talk about. Root center, sorry, let me get the language correct. Root center, mine's open, so I can go with the flow, right? There's some that are closed that have a more defined way of interacting. So, and then of course I'll be doing the astrology and the tarot there. So just wanted to get that last piece of housekeeping in, and we've made it to the content part, and I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. Just generally speaking, can you talk a little bit about how you came to understand the tribes of light, what they are, how we can work with them as individuals before we go into the,
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 15, I had a car accident, near-death experience. And in doing that, it just sort of took me out of my body and it connected me on the inner levels with a group of angels that I consider the great central sun angels. And they are, and here's I got my tattoo to
nice.
Go along with it there.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Great central sun angels going into the great central sun there. Yeah. So, anyway, so with them, so starting at a very young age, that just was kind of life-changing for me, and it got me on my path. By the age of 20, I was, initiated into Reiki, had gone to massage school. I'd already started doing readings with people right around that time, and I've just been doing them with people ever since. So over the years, I knew that my tribe of light, these particular angels, these great central sun angels, which are more of a galactic energy, were working with me. But every time I tuned into people over the years, I would notice there's their soul energy, and then there is the energy standing behind them, which began, I started feeling the feeling tone. These feel cosmic, which are more rare. These might be galactic. These might be planetary, star, ascended masters, nature kingdom, angelic, etc. So each person they were revealing to me that each person had kind of their own tribe of light. And so if you imagine your tribe of light, think of it in terms of all of us come from a unified source energy, right? So here we are hanging out in this big bubble of source energy. And when your consciousness, you gain enough consciousness, you become like this individualized flame of light. So that would be like, let's say your cosmic Christ presence or your I am presence. You become this individualized flame of light, and you move, let's say, kind of out of source energy, and you're going to be fulfilling your soul blueprint, whether it's in this dimension, other dimensions, this world, other worlds. This is just the unique signature of who you are. Sort of like your fingerprint is unique just to you, right? Or your soul blueprint is unique just to you. So when you become an individualized flame of consciousness, not in a body, but just consciousness, you're going to want to maybe go to a housing, to be housed somewhere while you're this individual flame of light. And based on your unique soul blueprint, you would have a tendency to kind of gravitate into the cosmic avatar, which is its own dimension, a higher dimension, planetary beings, which is its own dimension, galactic beings, star beings, angels. These are your kind of your 5 primary tribes of light that you can work with, right? And so you'll gravitate towards whatever's going to be most in alignment for your unique thread that you're going to weave through the tapestry of the universe, whatever gifts you're going to bring, whatever blessing you're going to bring. So with you, Tiffany, you're more galactic, right? So you're this individualized flame of light. And let's say on some level, you know, you're going to go over to these galactic councils. You want to be of service, high level of service. Along the way, it feels like you have also really connected into some star frequencies, different star systems, because you wanted to learn. So now you're a bit of a hybrid, because even though you might have this overall galactic fiery energy coming more from the great central sun, you've also added to your energy of some different star systems. And it feels like there's really several star systems that you have a real heart affinity with, Vega being one of them, maybe the Pleiadians being another, you know, but there's some star systems that you have a great love for, that you spent more time in when you were in a dimensional body instead of in a physical body, right? So you're out here gaining this experience, gaining this wisdom, learning. And you can come into human form and then in between lifetimes still go out to dimensional realms and have experiences for a period of time and then come back in again. So your primary was, let's say, maybe the galactic. Then you add these star frequencies in. Well, along the way, because you just love so many people, you just love so many beings, you've also really added in some angels along the way. Like it feels like you've got a signature tone in your nervous system of Archangel Michael, even Archangel Gabriel, really. Like you got a lot of purity, a lot of perfection, divine perfection. Archangel Michael being that kind of warrior energy and walking the middle path, the Macallian path, the Christ conscience path. So you see how it kind of builds up over a long time. And then when you were in human form, these other two tribes of light, the nature spirits and the ascended masters, they're derivative of the other five, actually. But you have made contact with some of the ascended masters, like for instance, Kuan Yin is one that actually, it feels like you did really go into that lineage. And there's some other ones as well. So you've been in touch with some of the living and ascended masters as well. And of course you have a great love for the earth. So, but you can see how once you finally align to your primary one, that's kind of like coming home for yourself. And it's coming home for yourself that we realize that we're not alone in this world. So again, I would notice that people had these beings backing them up. So if you're going to go to a healer or a doctor or a lawyer, it doesn't really matter how you're interacting with people. Like anytime I go to get healing work done, I'm always tuning into the beings that work with them. Like I have this really awesome massage therapist I work with, and she does cranial sacral. So I lay on the table and I'm there. Well, what I notice in the work is that all of a sudden there's these other beings that come in, you know, she's here doing what she does, but there's these other beings that line the table and they're all a little bit different. These kind of come in on the right and the left. And I noticed that they're Syrian star system. And so that's probably very much aligned to her, maybe more original kind of tribe of light, but the Lyrian Syrians, and they do all this healing work on you too. You see what I mean? So it's like, when you're sleeping at night, you tend to go out of your body and soul travel. And that's when we usually go back and we rejuvenate, regenerate, talk out. Oh my God, this is what my day was like. You know, can you help me with this? Anytime we're praying for assistance, we are blessing people. Your tribe of light's kind of like the middleman between source energies here and you're down here. And these are the beings that are oftentimes kind of answering the prayer requests, the blessings, offering guidance. They can also sometimes step in to do a divine intervention. If your life is really way off track or you're in danger, they'll come in. People, you've seen it over time. They're like, I was dying and this angel reached in and pulled me out of the water. Or something happened. Or I turned left instead of right and it saved my life, or I didn't go to work that day and something happened. So they will do those kinds of things for us. And then when you're a baby, they help to usher you in. So little babies, along with pets, plants, they're usually very aware. If you can see little babies kind of like looking out and you can tell they're watching something and smiling, it's usually their tribe of light. And, you know, whatever age, maybe it's 1.5, 2, 3 years old, something will kind of bring us more into our body. But babies are usually seen more out of their etheric vision. When they're first born, they're seeing energy more than they are physical matter. And then, you know, it's appropriate that we come into our more, you know, denser energy field to experience the world. But it's unfortunate that we're not taught how to maintain a closer connection to your tribe of light along the way. And it could be your family of light, tribe of light, council of light, whatever word you want to use that matches your energy field, but they are literally your family. So even though you have a physical family that you're biologically connected to, which you may or may not have good relations with. It just depends on what you're learning karmically from that family. Your family of light is always with you. They travel lifetime to lifetime with you. They know you better than anybody. They're always in your corner. They, help you with your soul blueprint, and they actually evolve by getting to be of service with you. So you just want to treat them like your new best friend and your family members. And so that's my story. That's my spiel.
Man, that was like the best segment little nugget I've ever heard. I didn't have to ask any questions. You just naturally went into the next thing that I was curious about. Thank you for that overview. And so guys, I like hearing how you're talking about, well, you're not so alone in this world, because there is something to connect to that's so pure, and us humans, right? Like, we all have these faults, and so sometimes that's when we can get into trouble, is when we exalt a human, where maybe their energy isn't so clear all the time, 100% of the time. We're none of us are perfect 100% of the time, but there is this like ability to connect into your tribes of light that are this pure source light that's able to provide you guidance and to provide you a sense of connection, right? So I want to focus a little bit on, can we do the cosmic first?
Yeah. So for people who, I would highly recommend people to take the quiz online, mywildmagic.com// whatever quiz. Okay. And this will help. And how I designed the quiz was, each tribe of light has a personality. It has a signature tone, a way of being. And when you start understanding the personality of each person, maybe it's their physical dynamics, how they are in the world, how they react to things, you can start to see, like, whether it's their physical dynamic or their emotional mental body, oh, they're really more of a planetary being or a cosmic being, right? And so there's these personality traits, these energy traits. And so so the quiz was created by taking those traits that I notice in people who have this, and just putting questions in it. And so as you go through the questionnaire, the more you answer questions that might align to what a cosmic being would answer, or a star being, or whatever, it helps you to kind of delineate more into that field. Now, you mentioned it earlier that the other thing that can happen is, just like I was explaining about you might be galactic, fiery, great central sun energy at your primary, but you are also very closely connected to the star beings, the star systems, your creative geniusness, quick thinking, emotional sensitivity as well. And so you can have more than one tribe of light that you work with, or council of light. But what you're feeling for when you answer the questionnaire is you're breathing into your heart. And you're really just being unconditionally loving with yourself and unconditionally honest with how you answer the questions, so that you get a better result with it, right? So with the cosmic avatars, there's fewer of them on the planet, for one. They are the most expanded. Like, what's happened is, cosmic is the most expanded, then galactic, then planetary, then star, then angel. So it's dimensionally organized, I guess you could say. And then the nature kingdom is the one here. It's going to be the one that sits closest to us. Ascended masters are just an octave above us. Angels are a little bit higher than that. Star beings a little bit further, planetary, etc. So you've got this like octave of different vibrational resonance, and the cosmic beings are sort of like a yogi on a mountaintop kind of mentality. They're like, I'd rather be on a mountaintop just praying for the world than being in it, and they're not really attached to money. Sometimes they come from trust funds or whatever, but a lot of times they're just not that interested in money. Money just comes and goes, and relationships comes and goes. They're not very attached to death and dying. They're not very attached to a lot of things, actually, because they have this very expanded consciousness. One of the biggest signature tones I notice is that time, they don't abide necessarily by time, space, and gravity. So it's like it's easier for them to to just be talking to you, but to be out in a different dimension, to almost bilocate. I mean, those are the type of people who can literally kind of disappear in a room and then reappear, because their energy is so expanded. And when it comes to time, you just need to know that they're probably not going to give you an answer on anything in the future. And they don't really tie that much to the past either. They're very much in the present moment, but they sort of show up when they show up, and they can't help anything beyond that. There's no point in getting upset about them if they're not going to be on time.
So I was looking in your book and I'm in the cosmic. So because I want to point that out to people, it's like unusual if you are cosmic, right? Like this is a very,
It's more like a Dalai Lama,
yeah,
yogi mountaintop. You come
yeah.
across these souls every once in a while. There might even be maybe a few more on the planet right now because of what we're going through, but they are
Mhm.
more rare energetically. There's not as many of them.
And so you like she has listed out some examples. Like you were talking about Yogi on a Mountain. There's also Gandhi or Thich Nhat Hanh or Guru Mai, like these ascended, I mean, well, these cosmic beings. And then you have this cool meditation. So if that's you, there's some interesting things to play with in order to connect with them, right? So the cosmics, right there, that's one. Our next one is the galactics. And so the galactic tribe of light, can you talk about their
Yeah.
example?
So in the next octave of light, you've got the galactic beings. And that usually is something that's coming more out of the great central sun as a location. Cosmic is going to be, cosmos, cosmic energy beyond the universes. Like there's multiple universes. Cosmic beings, their mind flows in terms of, oh, this is just one dot in time. They're very quantum, very expanded, right? Well, the galactic beings come more from that octave of light of the great central sun. So their energy is more fiery, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more pushy in a sense. They really want to get stuff done. They're great at multitasking. They are compassionate oriented, like they move a lot through the hearts on fire comes out of that. Like they just burn with hearts on fire and they want to be of service at a very high level. And they really don't understand why more people aren't being of service at a high level. They just really don't get it. You know what I mean?
I
And
do know what
so
you mean.
yeah, I'm sure you do it. And so their energy is a little bit more because it can be so emotionally intense. And so they're very passionate people about whatever they pick to do or to love or to be a part of, that's high service. And they're usually in service on galactic councils that work with the earth. So there's many different galactic councils. And so they're usually in service with that, but they oftentimes will do better with group energy on a bigger scale because they have so much energy that one-on-one they can, unless they know how to tone it down, it can sometimes almost overwhelm a person in partnership or clients or people or whatever. So they're really good in group energy.
I think about that in terms of human design and the manifesting generators, which is my design, and that just like power to inform and do, right? Like, let's do this. And one of the examples in your book was Joan of Arc. And somebody
Yeah.
had told me that that was one of my, I guess, archetypes in the past life. And so I really resonated with everything you said. And then also the Joan of Arc energy. You also list like, who else is in here? Oprah, Matt Damon, MLK Jr., Esther Hicks. Like these are the types of energies you could start to understand as galactically oriented, I guess you would say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then each tribe of light kind of has a negative, and positive polarity to them. Like for instance, cosmic beings, when they are really in alignment with themselves, they're able to hold very high conscious, just even walking through a mall, walking through an airport, they're literally raising the vibration right around them because they're tuned in to these higher cosmic downloads going through them. And I find that the cosmic beings I know just sometimes have to sleep for a few days because they are carrying cosmic rays that go into the earth and into the planet itself. And, they might seem lazy or whatever, but in truth, they just got these powerful downloads and they are literally an acupuncture point of this energy, right? Galactic beings are very similar. They work a lot in their sleep time because they're working on so many different galactic councils on how can we help the earth and how can we evolve, right? So if the cosmic being is out of balance, they can be really aloof as a person. So if you're a human being and that's your tribe of light, because you're one-minded with your tribe of light, but in human form, they can be of this really high level of service where they hold high vibration and consciousness. And if they're out of balance, maybe because of a bad childhood or fear or whatever, then they can actually be very aloof and want to be alone and sometimes just not be attached to the world to the point that suicide's easy for them, checking out's easy for them, not being of service, wanting to avoid the world. The galactic beings can, they're very passionate. That's the positive aspect of them, getting stuff done, moving along on that level. But sometimes they can push energy too much. they can, you know what I mean? And it comes across, it can literally kind of push people away because people can't live up to this high standard of like all this energy. They burn so much energy and people can get a little bit burned out by them in a sense. You know what I
Yes,
mean? So
I have
sometimes
been
they have
given
to,
that feedback
so
about
sometimes they
myself.
have to tone themselves down a little bit so that they don't lose people along the way that they want to help be in service with them.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really smart to point out that there are
In human
like,
form. Yeah.
yeah, right. Like there, like just like we talk about the planets, there's a high vibration and a lower vibration. And in terms of evolutionary astrology or just evolving and maturing and growing as a person, there's going to be a positive and perhaps negative use
Because
of
we're learning
that.
from, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a polarity. We're living in a binary. And so as soon as you see that what you don't want, you get to see what you do want. And so there's no
Right.
mistakes in understanding the energy. There's not like a bad tribe of light to be with or a good one to want to be in, you know.
Right. Yeah, yeah. They
Um,
all have these, yeah, different energies. Yeah. So yeah, so again, the galactic can almost kind of burn themselves out too. Like they sometimes just focusing on what they want without taking on 1 million projects, you know, or giving people a little space to catch up to them for the bigger picture they do have. You know, these are just some things that would be helpful. So the next one, I'm assuming you want to go to the next one.
yeah, the next one's planetary.
Yeah. So with the planetary beings, um, I kind of think of them on the inner levels when you see them like tall rays of light that can be of different colors, right? Tall rays of light. And they operate mostly out of the higher self, the higher mental body. So when you come across somebody who has a planetary being, they usually planetary beings do not like emotions, think they're silly, beneath them for sure, and don't speak that language at all because they're speaking out of their higher self. So galactic beings speak from the heart. It's all heart, 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 passions, feelings. Cosmic beings are very speaking kind of like very ethereally and from other worlds. And it's very philosophical and lofty, and you may or may not ever get it. Planetary beings are very direct, very linear, like 1 + 1 = 2. And you know what I mean? So it's very linear. So if you try to talk to them emotionally, it's going to shut them down. They're just really not going to get it. But if you can raise to your higher self and try to communicate from your higher self, they'll understand. So even though planetary beings aren't emotional, they also can be very deeply compassionate. So when they're in balance with themselves, they can have this really beautiful compassion to them and this really very grounded wisdom and logical approach to life that is very stable, very practical, right? When they're out of balance, they can be arrogant. I got to be right about everything. I'd rather be right than be loved. You know what I mean? So they can get attached to that rightness in their mind. And that can become kind of annoying to be around because you feel like you're being talked down to all the time. So that's the downside of it. But like I said, when they are in sync, they have this amazing, stable wisdom. And you're just like, oh my God, that just makes so much sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they can calm somebody who's highly emotional. They're kind of can be very grounding, and it can kind of calm somebody down as well if they are very emotional.
Some of the planetary beings that you list are Einstein, Bill Gates, David Hawkins, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Abe Lincoln, Obama, Mandela, let's see, Tesla, right? Some of these personalities you might recognize in what Adrienne's talking about. You know, and the other thing I think that you wrote about that I really liked in this section was that each of our planetary systems represent different planetary beings. So our planets, right? My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas, right? Mars, Venus, Earth, right? Like all of them. So Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, each of them have their own unique council, right?
They do, yeah. And planetary systems even beyond this universe and this world too, because sometimes the further out you get, the more the higher conscious those beings are, and they're helping us to have a more enlightened world so that we don't blow ourselves up or get emotionally immature, because all planets evolve themselves and all the beings on planets evolve themselves, right? So they're almost like, you can kind of think of them and star beings, kind of like beings from the future who are coming in to help us in our own evolution. Like, oh, here's how you make fire. Here's how you make a wheel. What will happen if we give you, this technology for computers or whatever, you see?
Right.
And then we get to
Yeah.
play around with it.
One of my favorite astrologers is Stephen Forrest, and he's an evolutionary astrologer. And he, like many astrologers, talks about the planets as teachers, right? And so this can be kind of uncomfortable depending on your um, upbringing or personal belief system to think about a planet as a teacher, right? But there is an influence coming from the planetary bodies, the planetary realms, the planetary beings. You can see this, of course, with the moon and the rising of the tide very easily and clearly. But each of the planets has an influence. And I love that Einstein is listed here, because isn't he the one who taught us that the observer affects the experiment? So you're talking about evolutionary, how the beings are changing, the planets themselves are changing, Earth itself is changing. We're all changing each other, right? We're all impacted by watching, we're impacted by the experiment, we're impacted by what we're seeing, and we're also influencing based on how we are. So what a really unique, eclectic tribe, I guess, to study. And then the last one that we wanted to cover today were the star beings. And so would you lead us from the planets into the stars?
Yeah. So one last thing about the planetary beings is
sure.
that, so I kind of forgot what I was going to say. Let me think.
Oh, sorry.
No, it was not you. With the planetary beings, and this includes the star beings or maybe ascended masters as well, that throughout history, you have cultures that feel like they were visited by beings from outer space, that they were given technologies, that they were given wisdom and information and temples and, things like that. And oftentimes it is because there's an influence of these beings that kind of come in on that level. And usually I find it's more on an energetic level. Like a lot of times people say, well, why aren't aliens walking around us now? And usually it's just based on vibrational resonance, you know what I mean, on that level. And, some planetary beings think of it like in human form, the whole key to being here is being in human form. So let's say you did have planetary beings or ascended masters or whatever come in, star beings, they might come through, kind of like in physical form or whatever, but they carry that frequency. They're able to channel that higher frequency. And so sometimes these beings, whether they came in through meditations or they came in, however they came in through shamanic connections, is, it has helped us immensely to evolve as a humanity. And I'd say, good examples of them would be the Atlanteans, that whole thing would have been kind of planetary in a sense. And so with the star beings, so planetary beings are like tall rays of light, more calm, more mental, don't like emotions, are very messy. Star beings, on the other hand, come in like clusters of light. And a lot of times you can see star beings might even have more of an anxious attachment style because they like being connected. They're used to kind of being in a cluster on the inner levels and like a one-minded sort of connection of energy with all these other beings. And there's light coming in from the future, and they are quite brilliant. They're genius oriented, similar to the planetary beings, but they're very emotional, very childlike, very emotional. They deal mostly in the emotional body. They can be highly empathic to other people's emotions. They also pick up on people's thought forms psychically, which can cause them to be very reactive. The star beings also are very sensitive to the difference between love and fear. It's one of their signature resonances they can pick up on. So as long as the room and the environment is loving, then all of that creative genius, brilliant, energy comes in and it gets through the brain all the way to the heart. And then you get a very, very loving expression of a person. But if that star being gets afraid because the environment or something around is scary, they shut off that energy at the medulla oblongata right here at the base of the brain. It doesn't get to express through their emotions in their heart. And what happens is it starts to cause ADD. So for people who kind of have ADD, more than likely, they're usually star being type energies that are future related, very emotionally sensitive beings. And the minute you get them sort of centered, grounded, and breathing, again, you can almost manually open the heart. And the way I suggest doing this is you sit Indian style. So, and then you drop your hand. So that your left hand is holding the right arch of the foot. The right hand is holding the left arch of the foot. What you're doing is you're balancing out the the polarities. So around our body, we have like these other sacred geometrical things. One of them is like an orb of energy that goes this way. Well, when any of us, but I'm going to use star beings as the example, when they're like flying on airplanes around large groups of people, drinking, there's emotional arguments going on, anything like that, it starts to go like this. And then they can seem a little bit hyperactive or a little bit bipolar, things like that. And that's partly because they're polarity. So the minute you sit and you like we're like an energy field, and when you hold on, it gets them. And then all you got to do is drop it and breathe through your heart. I'm breathing in through my heart. I'm breathing out through my heart. And even just within 3 to 5, maybe 10 breaths, somebody who's running a lot of ADD type of patterns will all of a sudden come back into their higher energy that they can use more wisely and stuff. So it's a good way to kind of manage that. So star beings are basically picking up energy from the future. Again, they're highly creative, very childlike, very emotional related. And when they get out of balance, it can be a little bit more like ADD, a little bit too hyperactive, emotionally immature, reactive, that kind of thing.
Okay, so some of your examples are of modern day souls who connect with the star tribes of light are Mozart, Bradley Cooper, Emma Stone, Leo DiCaprio, Marianne Williamson, David Bowie, my favorite example, like absolutely, right? You could really see that. Taylor Swift, Anderson Cooper, Bruce Lee, Amanda Gorman, Ashton Kutcher, and Mila Kunis. Do you say Kunis? Kunis? I don't know. I just saw that they were matching. I don't know if this is true or not, guys, so don't get me lying to you, but that they were matching a $3 million donation for the efforts that they are connecting to with the Ukrainian situation. So you could see that, like you could see both of them.
Yeah.
Passionate, childlike giving, right? Like this creative benevolence that's coming through. And Cameron Diaz and Jack Black. I wanted to get those in there.
And you can see how they're all very emotional, very hyperactive, very, you know what I mean? And when they're in their good frame of mind, they really do a lot of cool, creative, kind of fun things. Yeah.
And I like too that you put in here the dolphins, the Mayans, the Celtics, the Gypsies, the Indigo children, and the Lemurians. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think? Because I got to go to Nazca in Peru and see the Nazca lines. What do you think? Where do you think that those types of beings might fit in? Are those like the crop circles? Who doesn't want to talk about crop circles? I want that. Guys, come on down. It's so cool.
You got the property for it. Yeah, right. Yeah. So with the Peruvian energy, you see, so Incan energy would probably be a little bit more planetary. Atlantean is a little bit more planetary. Roman energy is a little more planetary. Whereas then you get into Mayans, a little bit more star being. The Greeks are a little bit more star being. Lemurians a little more star being. So it's just, they're just different frequencies. So with the Peruvian one, you know, if you went like, it's a little bit hard to read because I think that the Peruvian energy might have been a little bit influenced by both. Like, in other words, there's certain cultures that seem a little bit more childlike and star being energy, but some of them seem like they have a little bit more of that Incan or a little bit more of that other type of planetary influence. So with the Peruvians specifically, it seems like they carry both. Like, let's say the Aboriginals actually feel more star being energy. And a lot of your Aboriginal energies or indigenous energies usually are more star being related. You know what I mean? They're connecting more to the star system energy. But I do think that there must be parts of Peru that might have had etheric retreats and retreats that were governed more by the planetary beings, but also ascended masters. Okay, since we just said etheric retreats, let's sidebar a little bit. The etheric retreats you do, can you talk about those? There are special places in the etheric realm. So yeah, so sort of like the earth. So the earth itself is a living being, and the earth has a meridian system, it has a chakra system, it has ley lines, it has portals, it has vortexes, okay? So wherever you get a power spot on the earth, that has maybe more energy to it, oftentimes what will happen is they will have a portal or a gateway as well. And sometimes the ascended masters and sometimes the angelic realm will use these portals and create what we consider like an etheric temple on the inner level. So one that's very well known here in the US would be the energy of the Grand Tetons. Okay, so in Teton Romy. So the Grand Tetons is the etheric retreat for Lord Lanto, and it deals with the flame of divine wisdom. And it's where all the different languages of light and text and things that have been gathered over time ended up in that library, right? And so when sometimes what happens is they're sort of like on the inside of the mountain chain, or maybe even above it. Sometimes they can be in the ocean. Sometimes they can be like the Gobi Desert has one, considered like Shambhala type energy. So to the human eye, they're not necessarily obvious because they're etheric, they're energetic, but they're only one octave above us. So for anybody who's meditating and who studies and asks, oftentimes those retreats will open up and you can energetically soul travel into them on that level. So a lot of the guy James Redfield and the 11th Insight, in Shambhala, that would be an etheric retreat. Guy Ballard, Life and Teachings of the Master of the Far East, those were etheric retreats. All the I Am Discourse books talks about the etheric retreats. So certain people throughout time have a more deeper connection to that. And they probably have studied with living and ascended masters in other lifetimes. So that in their soul memory, they kind of have that. It doesn't take much to jog the memory of, oh, I feel like I'm in a sacred space. Now, if you go out to Mount Shasta or Mount Teton, the Teton Range, whenever I've traveled through those and taught quests there, about 100 miles out, you can feel them affecting your chakras because they hold so much energy. So the Shasta one, I find, opens my heart. The Teton one opens my crown chakra. The Shasta one's dealing with Saint Germain. Saint Germain also has another etheric retreat in Transylvania, out of all places.
Yeah.
It's a castle there. Archangel Michael has one up in Banff, Canada. Anyway, then Cuscos, Lord Cuscos has one in the Fiji Islands, and it's kind of under the water in the sea. And his etheric retreat specializes in being able to work with all the sciences of the world. So the tectonic shifting plates, the earthquakes, like that etheric retreat governs that. This one deals with the wisdom, this one. So they each kind of do different things. And when you do global meditations and you invite them in, like in the quantum prayer field work and stuff like that, what happens is it's like you're connecting to the ascended master octave of light. And so they start adding vibration into global meditations and stuff like that too. And they can use that energy as well to help stabilize the earth, bring in wisdom, whatever.
I love it. And I know that I'm a big fan. I know that you have a lot of people in your membership, but how I like to listen to your meditations through all of these different things that you're talking about. Some of them will focus, you'll focus in on a certain aspect that's very useful and practical, and also just very cleansing feeling. And so I like to do them. I like to listen to the replay and sit alone outside and just be peaceful with it. So if those things excite you guys, I just want to remind you, you can find Adrienne's work at mywildmagic.com. You can take the quiz, and it is killing me to not talk about the rest of them because I am quad left. I like to do things in order. I don't like to leave things hanging out there in space. It's really making me cringe, but we're going to save the angelic, the ascended masters, and the nature kingdom for another talk. And is there anything else that you want to say that's just coming up for you that you want to share before we close?
I think we've covered quite a lot. And like I said,
Yeah.
On the etheric retreats, the quests that I do, usually March and September, they are purely focused in the etheric retreats. Like the meditation group I do on Wednesdays is usually out of the Great Central Sun. But if anybody's more interested in that, we are straight up traveling right in and working directly with the higher instructions of those beings of light. And it's one of my most fun things ever,
Yeah, I think it's a gift of your life. I think it's a legacy thing that you've done. It's just been beautiful to watch. I've been working with you, Adrienne, for about 20 years, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I'm a huge believer. And guys, you can find Tribes of Light at wiseskiescollective.com in the shop tab. Members are getting a special discount this month only. And plus you get access to her deep dive in these classes. Our membership is great if you're new to the metaphysical world, but all hearts are welcome, all levels, all belief systems, all philosophies. We have master astrologers in there, we have master human design analysts, and we have people that have never flipped over a tarot card and are just a little bit curious, right? So everybody's welcome. Everybody has a tribe of light. You're not alone in this world. There's a place that you can connect into that's etheric, that feels eternal. And I just am so grateful that you spent some time with us today. So thank you.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. Yeah. So loved it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time then.
Okay. Yeah. Till the 22nd.
That's right.